All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So today is the last day of practices in training camp. It should be a lot of fun. Hopefully they make the most of it. But we do have this report coming out from Dianna Russini. Came out pretty early in the morning suggesting that the New York Jets are making calls targeting the veteran wide receiver market. She also mentioned the 49ers are calling, the Vikings are also calling, which is expected. The Vikings are dealing with the Jordan Addison situation, and I feel like San Francisco at this point is pretty thin. But ironically enough, one of the players that I feel like would make perfect sense for this Jets team is Jauan Jennings, who's currently not practicing. He wants a new deal. We've seen the trade requests come out from his, from his camp. But overall, the 49ers could definitely use some more help at the wide receiver position, assuming that Jennings is not practicing. But in any case, who are some of these options? Who are some of the guys that maybe could be released? Some bubble guys. We see it all the time, right? Players get cut. Players get traded at this stage. I would say pretty, not frequently, but it's a common thing. You have all these new coaches coming in. You have all these new systems. Are good players sometimes on the outside looking in because they don't fit the system? Yes. Are there situations where you have a veteran that's just, hey, you know what? He's pretty good, but we have this young player that's outperforming him. If we could save a little bit of money, we'll go with the young player. That, of course, happens as well. There's tons of different situations, right? So the first wide receiver that I feel like is totally realistic here, this is the one that pretty much everyone's been talking about, everyone's been suggesting, it's Romeo Doubs. Why Romeo Doubs? He's been a good player. He's been a solid wide receiver too. He's made plays on a winning team in the Green Bay Packers here. Why would they get rid of him? Because they are so deep. Green Bay is so deep at wide receiver, man. They drafted Matt Golden in round 1. They drafted Savion Williams, I believe, in round 3. They have Reed. They have Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavion Wicks. The room is stacked. And we also know, too, that Matt LaFleur wants to be this balance. He wants to have a balanced approach, a balanced attack. To me, you're not just going to dump the running game and just go full on pass mode and we're going to change things up because we have extra wide receivers. I think because of the contract situation with Romeo Doubs, he's on an expiring deal. If Green Bay could potentially get out in front of moving him, right, trade him to a team that needs a wide receiver, recoup a draft pick for someone who wasn't going to be here long term anyway, that does make sense, and that feels like a very Green Bay Packers style of move, right? They're one of the best ran organizations in football. Now, speaking of Green Bay, also something to make a note of. Aaron Glenn signed Josh Myers. Aaron Glenn signed Justin Fields. A big reason why both signings happened was because Glenn coached against both of those players. He knew what it was like to go up against Justin Fields. He knew what it was like to go up against Josh Myers. That, obviously lit a fire under the Jets and said, hey, we need these guys. So, Romeo Doubs and all of these different Packers wide receivers are in the same boat here. And speaking of Green Bay, Christian Watson. Now, Christian Watson's a bit of an interesting story because, from a talent perspective, I freaking love Christian Watson, right? His downfield speed matched with his size. I loved him back in North Dakota State. He was actually one of my players to watch coming into the Senior Bowl for that game, specifically for the Jets. He was projected to go in round 5, ends up having this fantastic pre-draft process, goes in round 2. So I like Watson's talent. I think he could be a really good player, but of course, like Romeo Doubs, on an expiring deal, and right now I believe Watson is hurt. I think he's still hurt. I know he missed a pretty big portion of training camp, but at this stage, right, you're getting ready for the start of the regular season. Are the Jets really going to be trading away a draft pick for someone who isn't the most reliable? I don't know. That's my only question with Christian Watson. But, if we manage to land him today, tomorrow, whatever, of course I'm going to be thrilled. You just have the question mark of availability when it comes to Watson. Now, they also have Dontavion Wicks, who is a guy who I like his game, but is he ready to jump to this new, level, ascend to this new level where the Jets are frankly going to need him to be? He's had a bit of a drop problem. I think I would maybe prefer Watson. I would prefer Doubs over Wicks from an overall volume and production standpoint, but Wicks would come in and be an upgrade, all things considered. Who are some other players? Well, Quinton Johnston from the Chargers is a very intriguing option, right? We know Jim Harbaugh wants to run the football. We know that they're looking at the wide receiver position. They've added some names there. They actually just brought in Keenan Allen. Could Johnston be on his way out? Could you potentially flip a draft pick for him? Now, I don't feel, it definitely feels like Doubs won't be in Green Bay for like a 4-year, for the foreseeable future. I don't see him signing a contract extension. Johnston, I'm not as sure that he's going to be moved, but man, this would be an awesome, in my opinion, call for the Jets to make, because he has a lot of potential still. Big guy, bit of a drop problem, but he's coming off a great season, over 700 receiving yards. And I know on the surface for Chargers fans, it's a bit disappointing because he was a first-round pick and everything, but and you're thinking, okay, a first-round pick, like you should be like someone that we're building around, not someone that we're talking about potentially moving on from a couple years later. But the reality is Jim Harbaugh did not draft Quentin Johnston. And again, if the room is not there, if they don't feel like he fits, I think he would come in and instantly be that wide receiver 2 on this Jets squad. If he could just duplicate those numbers, if he could give the Jets 700 receiving yards, 750 receiving yards, that is a freaking win. Who on this Jets roster right now, and no disrespect to anybody, but is Josh Reynolds going to be snagging 700 yards this season? Tyler Johnson, Malachi Corley, I just don't think so. I think I'm going to lean towards no. Right now, it feels very much like Garrett Wilson is probably going to get right above 1,000, and the next man up, could that even be Mason Taylor? I'm not sure. The next man up could maybe be like 500-ish, 550, because we're going to be this run-centric, run-heavy team. But of course, you can't be this run-heavy team if you don't have threats down the field, if you don't have pass-catching threats, guys that can move the chains on 3rd and long. We have Garrett, but if he's the only realistic threat, that could pose issues, which is why I appreciate the report coming out from Russini here that even if the Jets don't make a move, Muji has the self-awareness to say, well, hey, we still need some help here, despite signing Tyler Johnson, despite signing Josh Reynolds. And by the way, Allen Lazard is currently hurt. But so you have Quinton Johnston, you have all those Packers wide receivers. One interesting name that I've been looking at, I don't know if he gets moved, but I feel like because this team is relatively young, because they could always use draft picks, and because of this player's age, I believe he's 35 years old, but Adam Thielen to me would be a really intriguing option. Now, do you want to pull one of Bryce Young's weapons away from him right before the start of the season? Ideally, no. If you're a Panther fan, the counter is, of course, okay, well, could I get a 2nd-round pick? Could I get a 3rd-round pick? 4th-round pick, maybe? I don't know how I'd feel about that if I was a Panther fan, but I know if I'm a fan of the Panthers, I'm not letting go of Thielen for a 6th-round pick. Are you kidding me? No. Like, there's pressure on Bryce Young. There's pressure on Dave Canales here. We need all hands on deck. But of course, you're seeing guys emerge. Obviously, Ted McMillan's a top 10 pick. They have Coker, Xavier Legette, right? Former 1st-round pick that they traded up for from South Carolina. Kind of this big play, 50-50 ball winner in college, but has been inconsistent so far. But are you going to move on from him 1 year into his career? I don't know. So probably not. You would guess, right? Common sense would tell you no, despite the disappointing training camp from what we've heard. So it kind of leaves Adam Thielen in a bit of a weird situation where he is 30, in his mid-30s. You can clear some money. You can maybe flip that money into someone else, recoup a draft pick. But again, if I'm the Jets, I don't know if I would be trading a 4th-round pick or more for Adam Thielen at this stage, because you don't know how much time he has left. If you're trading a mid-round pick for Romeo Doubs, which I think is unlikely, but or Christian Watson, or any of the Quentin Johnston, at least you have. Again, I think that's unlikely of a return, but at least you can argue, okay, this guy could be here for the long term. This guy could be here for the next 4 years, right? Comes in, plays the season, 3-year extension. You can have that argument. Adam Thielen, I don't see playing for the Jets if they acquire him for 2-3 seasons, just simply because of his age. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Is there one wide receiver maybe that you're eyeing that we didn't talk about? Or do you just say, screw it, let's just wait for the cut down day and just see who falls, see who slips through the cracks? Because the Jets right now are sitting pretty high in the waiver order, right? 7th overall pick, so 7th team up. And, you know, if you're looking at the teams in front of the Jets, I feel like we're in a pretty good position with, you know, as far as positions of need and things like that. In other words, the positions that the Jets need, I don't really feel like the teams sitting in front of us are really going to be scooping up before they get to spot number 7. So I think we should be in a pretty good spot. That also goes for backup quarterback too. We still don't know what's going on with Tyrod and his health. Had the knee scope, wear and tear injury, according to Aaron Glenn. Timing of it is a bit weird. We know Tyrod's age. We know his injury history. I do think it would be smart to maybe target at Tommy DeVito if he falls. Or not falls, but again, gets released or something like that. Jameis Winston, I highly doubt that he's going to be moved. Maybe someone on Cleveland's quarterback depth chart. Tanner McKee maybe, although you'd probably have to trade for him and he's not going to be released. The point is, I think there's multiple positions here that the Jets can look to improve during the waiver wire. But yeah, we'll monitor this whole wide receiver thing. Interesting stuff. Anyway, let me know your thoughts, and as always, go Jets.